we're here, you know, to celebrate for the vets a hero. One of ours in the Smedley chapter, and he led a life that every one of us wants to live. And so we're here tonight really to try to make it possible for that kind of life to continue, to make an endowment of this sort of thing, and that's what we're here for. And I'm going to turn this over to our Executive Director, Dennis Lane, and he's going to speak a little bit about our guests and more.
I have the privilege of being Executive Director for the 25th anniversary, and I was hired in February, and I knew about your father, of course, and I had spoken to the board about the actually executive committee first, of which Nate and Mike are here. I said I think we should consider, you know, naming our endowment. We've never had one before. It's a 25-year-old organization, and they said yes, and they asked me to contact the family, and so I did. And from the very beginning, Myla has been very wonderful and very encouraging and very supportive throughout this process, so I want to thank you for that. And it was also, it was equally wonderful contacting Nancy, because, and I saved the emails because she said, I wish Howie were alive so I could tell him. So it would make him so happy. And so this, to me, is more than just an endowment, but it's really a way for us to really make a difference in the veteran's voice, in really utilizing the veteran's voice to speak out about the true cost of war. One of the things that we have put together, and I'm going to get one to you also, Nancy, is that there is one of our members, Robert Shatterley, has personally signed one for you and one for your brother. Yes. And so we also have one coming for you. I asked him to send one, so I'm going to send one to you also. We want you to have this. So, but one of the things that has been the most privilege is writing this, and we wanted you in particular to have something special. I'd like to say something and then ask Myla one more thing to come up before I read this. But well, this then, I worked, I wrote most of this, but Sev and some of the other executive committee really helped me to pull this together. And this, I think, is the heart of what and why we're here this evening. And if you could come up, I would appreciate it. Okay, and this is for you. And that's the Howard Zinn Fund for Peace and Justice. Howard Zinn Fund bombing missions for the United States in World War II. After his military experience, he dedicated his life to the elimination of war and promoting peace and justice. He was a devoted member of Veterans for Peace for over 23 years. The Howard Zinn Fund for Peace and Justice endowment has been named in his memory to ensure that his legacy will continue through Veterans for Peace, projects, services, and outreach. And we want to thank you. Going to invite her to say a few words now, but then the way it's going to then Pat's going to come up, and then it's invited me to come up to explain one other thing, and then Mike is going to say thank you to everyone, and finally it's going to end with some Howie stories, may I say that, from Nancy, that are only meant for us, and then it will conclude with some comments, final comments from Mike.
Well, this is such an honor, and you know how it is after people die, you always feel like, well, they really should be here, because he would have loved this, you know, and he would have been so touched. I think that...
he is here.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
I'm
sure he
feels
is.
like that.
And, you know, I don't think there's anything more meaningful than veterans who've been through it, who know what the reality is, speaking out against war. And, you know, it was my father's, as you know, his experience in war that really informed his life. And I think that, you know, my father was involved in many social justice issues. I mean, that's one of the most amazing things about him, sort of all the key issues. But I think that the issue that he was most passionate about, and that kind of he wrote and spoke about the most, was about the need to end all wars, and that there really is no such thing as a just war. And if you look, it's so interesting that you know, in the last 6 months, or 6 or whatever the number of months is since he died, there was, you know, I've been becoming more familiar with some of the things that he did in the last year of his life, and you know, before he died, he was working on this book that just came out by City Lights called The Bomb, and he wrote the introduction a month before he died. And the 2 chapters in it, one is about the bombing of Hiroshima, and the other is about the bombing of Bruyn, which is what he participated in. So he was working on this in his last year. And the other thing that is really incredibly touching is that he gave a speech in November of 09, which was basically a few months before he died at BU. And it was called, I don't know if any of you were there, any of you know this, but he gave a speech called 3 Holy Wars. And those, it was basically to talk about what he felt were the wars that we consider sacrosanct or uncriticizable. And of course it's the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and World War II. And he gave a very, very stirring, of course, in true Howie fashion, totally extemporaneous. I mean, it's amazing if you... I'm still in awe. I mean, it was, you know, when you think about how old, I mean, at that point in his life, I mean, it was just unbelievable. If you go to the howardzinn.org website and you scroll down to the speeches, you can actually click on 3 Holy Wars and they will have the video. And you can watch the video of him giving this speech just a few months before he died. So it's just so clear that he was, even with all the speeches he gave, with all the writing he did, that he was thinking about certain things in new ways. And he said that this speech was kind of something that had come to him in just the last year that he really wanted to talk about. So this is a tremendous honor. My heart is just looking at all of you and knowing that all of you bring your own personal history to this cause is really wonderful and amazing. And I just applaud your involvement in this organization, and I'm happy if this fund can in some way help you to continue the good work that you're doing. I want to just introduce my husband John, who's here.
Yay!
And, Yay! And say that my brother Jeff would have loved to have been here. He's the director of a theater, and they still have things going on. He couldn't leave. He lives on the Cape, but he would have loved to have been here with all of you. So thank you so much for this wonderful honor, and it's really great to meet all of you. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.